What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the CardFellas show, episode number 6. We've been off for a couple of weeks here, trying to get our lives in order. Busy stuff happening around our lives, but cards and talking about cards, always in the cards. And Chris, how you doing? How's life? What's up with you?
Yeah, same thing. Just been busy doing family stuff and some work stuff, and we've gone out a couple weeks here without having a show. So it's good to be back. Good to be talking some cards, and so far this year, most of the sets we've talked about, I guess, are sets that I can say these are kind of some of my favorites. But this one is definitely one of my favorites. This is definitely a top 10 set. But I know we got a few other things to tend to before we get there. So where are we going next?
Yeah, I was going to bring up what, something cool, interesting, otherwise, whatever the case may be. Usually I always start the show, but I was just going to say, it sucks when life gets in the way of fun, and we haven't had too much fun. So we're actually getting back to some fun here and enjoying the conversation about cards. And, doesn't mean we're not paying attention to cards. It's just that we're not doing the podcast as much, the video cast. But, the set we're going to be talking about today is 1989 NBA hoops, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I've talked about this before on the show. The unique autographs that are popping up, and I'm starting to see more and more as I see more reveals and things like that. I'm not deeply embedded into the card world where I know what every variation is there, but there's one that caught my eye again. It was a Shohei Ohtani. And, of course, sweeping the baseball world. But Ohtani is apparently signing some cards in English, which seems to be the most common. But now there are others that are popping up in his native of kanji. I think I pronounced that right. Maybe I didn't. But there you see a picture if you're watching. And so the one screen left is in his native language, his native signature, which is very cool. I didn't know that existed. And I read a story from a couple years ago where there was a Bowman from 2018, a Bowman where he had some that were autographed in English, and then there was one that was autographed in kanji, or again, I don't know if I'm mispronouncing it, but just cool. I love the variations. I love that stuff, and I will keep bringing them up when I see them. There's another one I saw this week, Chris. You'll appreciate this. It was a Tyler Lockett rookie card, and it said, "I can't wait to catch touchdowns from Russell Wilson." And so it just got me thinking. I'm like, that's cool. That's awesome. Unfortunately, now for him, he's going to be catching passes from, somebody else. So that was the big news that happened. Russell Wilson now shipped off to one of your favorite NFL franchises, the Denver Broncos. And you saw a little bit of his value go up with speculation that the Broncos are going to be a contender come next season. So
we'll see.
Interesting stuff, but love those autos.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. New coach in town, and Coach Fangio, thank God he's gone. But when you bring in these new guys, you don't ever know what you're going to get. If you're going to get a Sean McVay, or if you're going to get somebody who's going to end up in the dumpster in another few years. But hopefully this guy they brought in is good for the team. And I think it sure would be nice to have Von Miller still in that defense if we're thinking about doing something like that. But that'd be cool. I mean, the other news around the NFL is this Tom Brady guy. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he pulled a Brett Favre this week and decided to come back to the game. He didn't send any pictures that I know of, but retired and then unretired. I don't think there was a plane ride to Kill, Mississippi involved, but Tom Brady is back. And there's one guy that probably really hates it, and that's the person who spent $500,000 on his last touchdown in the NFL football. I believe that was Saturday, and then Brady announced on Monday that he's coming back. So that football.
I'm looking for that football that I bought. My kids have been playing in the yard with it. It's worthless now. Yeah, how about that, huh? Do you feel bad for the person? What went through your head when you heard that this person spent over $500,000 on a ball that he thought was Brady's last touchdown pass. And now it's probably not going to be, unless Brady gets seriously injured before he throws another one. You never know. I mean, crazier things have happened. But what were your thoughts for the buyer? Let's go the person who bought it. What went through your head? What did you think?
I don't know who that person is, but here's what I'll tell you is the people who can spend $500,000 on a ball like that have probably lost $500,000 on dumber things than that.
Thank you. Me too. I had zero sympathy. Zero at all. I have none. I guarantee this person has more money than they know what to do with.
Right.
Unless they don't. Unless this is like, the ultimate gamble. But I agree with you 100%. Zero sympathy for you, sir. I'm sorry. Yeah. I have no sympathy. And I hope that ball eventually is worth.
He's probably a Bitcoin billionaire or something like that. And he's wiping his butt with $100 bills. So he'll be just fine.
Oh my gosh, that's good stuff. Yes, but Tom Brady is back, and I think the hobby was, clearly, anytime that happens, it reignites kind of the hobby. I saw a ton of cards of his start popping back up for sale, and I think people are looking to cash in on news that happens, and that's one way to do it. And I know there's a lot of people out there that try and get an extra couple $100 just based on that news, and the Russell Wilson news. And I gotta say it because I brought it up on the show before. Deshaun Watson, baby, he's back in the news too. He gets some of his criminal cases dismissed. Now he's a thing again. I have cards coming back from PSA. I've brought it up on this show before. So I mean, it's crazy. There's nothing like the NFL when it comes to manufacturing news and stealing a news cycle. Like, it was Selection Sunday, one of the biggest events in college basketball, and Tom Brady comes in and be like, I'm back. It's like, stole everything. Nobody was talking about Selection Sunday. And so, the NFL is just truly remarkable, and it just kind of shows you, again, just the power that they have. And that's why people love collecting football too. I think it's just constantly in the news, and so very interesting to see. The card folks that I follow, throwing things up there on Russell Wilson and Tom Brady, and now again Deshaun Watson, and even Carson Wentz got a bump. I'm not investing in Carson Wentz, but there was movement, there's change, there's optimism, there's possibility, and so. For the people who speculate, those are the guys that are moving cards right now.
Yeah, I checked tonight, and I always check the Bowman rookie, and it really hasn't moved a lot. But I think what we would typically see is in March it kind of tailing off a little bit, but instead it's about what it was selling for, during the football season. So it seems to be about where it's been rolling. And to me, I don't think Brady, this news probably moves it up or down. I think his place in history is already solidified. Everyone, I mean, if you don't think, even myself, I kind of hated the guy for a long time. I'm not a Patriots fan. The Broncos and Patriots always had this kind of rivalry going. And, I believe Denver, he still has a losing record in that town. But I grew to admire him and grew to, like him and just see what he's about and like him. But, I don't think that there's too many people that think he's not the greatest ever. So what does it do to the card itself? Probably not much. But if he does win another Super Bowl, it'll go back up again in February.
Absolutely.
But I don't think this news moves that card much one way or another. Whereas I think the Russell Wilson stuff, you'll have a lot of speculators will move in there because I think with the season he had last year, the values went down, and the speculators will work in there right now. So
another guy we didn't mention, but very much in the news, was Aaron Rodgers. He's coming back too. So he's another guy that's interesting. I always see his cards pop up, and I'm intrigued by them, but I don't see a lot of movement with his cards either. And so even though he's a perennial MVP candidate, his teams are always in the playoffs. Until he gets over that hump and plays in another Super Bowl, his cards just kind of look stagnant too. So just interesting happenings among some of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, and the contract that Rodgers signed, to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. His big beef was that the Packers weren't putting any talent around him, and now he just sucked up more salary
Sucked
cap.
up more money.
And Adams is saying he's not going to play on the the 1-year deal. So I don't know what he achieved by doing that, other than, to me, making his legacy of being kind of a selfish guy even worse. So
yeah, and I think the likability on him is starting to kind of fade too, and that really has an impact on the Cards as well. The more likable a guy is, and the more transcendent, if you will, and he's not doing it off the field, that's for sure. So, well, that's again, here we are in the off season talking the NFL, and we're starting to see some NFL product pop into the stores. I've seen some new products pop in there. So even though it is the off season, there's a lot of NFL stuff popping in there, and even Target had some NFL mosaic blasters pop in. So hopefully some people were lucky to get those, because those are some nice cards still. I really do like the mosaics. They do a good job, and I think they're a really good value. And if you can get into to get retail at Target, or go into your local hobby shop and get some of those cards, there's some good product out there that's right now being released. So a little bit late in the game, but arriving nonetheless.
Yeah, that mosaic came in at $30 for a blaster box, where a lot of that better stuff has been $35-$40 for a blaster box from Panini. Yeah. So, like you said, really good price. My guess is those are going to find their way onto the secondary market, and who knows what they'll end up there. And really, we haven't seen a lot of that this year, because there just hasn't been a ton of product out there available. But that might be a product that you'll see out there and people flip it. But the flipping game and the retail stuff has really kind of gone away over the last 7-8 months, and there hasn't been a lot of product. Panini's, like you said, they're putting out their football product pretty late. There's a lot of basketball product going out right now that's late. I think they're just putting out draft picks in basketball, and it's like, boy, we've already had these other products that have them in the pro uniform. Who's going to go buy draft picks? But that's what
it's been a weird year, man. It's been a weird year for cards, but it's always fun to see them pop in there. And you and I've talked about it before. We have kids who like to rip. Cheap rips are always good. I like a cheap rip, so it's good to see those out there. I think it helps the hobby in the long run. But enough about that stuff. Should we get into the set? Should we go 1989 hoops?
We definitely should
dive in. All right. So this was a set you said was one of your favorites.
Yeah.
What made it one of your favorites? What makes it an icon in your eyes?
Well, when I got into the card game, I jumped in basically right at the dawn of the junk era, and when I saw these things, and to me it looked like the upper deck of basketball.
Absolutely.
It was white. It was kind of a semi-gloss card to it. Fleer really wasn't around as far as basketball for me a lot, so this was kind of the first basketball product that I really got into. And of course, I grew up in Northern Illinois, and the Bulls, that whole thing was going on. The Jordan card's cool. He's got the the finger up like this, and I mean it's just the clean layout. The way the card's set up, it looks like a almost like a lane with the top of the key on it. Just kind of a cool deal, and that's the Jordan card there, and
just a clean look. It's really sharp. It really jumps out at you. And you mentioned it. Fleer was around. I mean, they were making cards during this time, but for people maybe who weren't collecting cards, but it wasn't. Baseball cards were everywhere.
Right.
The basketball cards were harder to find, and Topps wasn't producing basketball at this time. There were Star had some. They had their moment in the late 80s, but it was really Fleer, but nobody was really collecting basketball until this really kind of jump-started it. And I think it's partially because they took the model of the junk era of baseball and they produced it in basketball, and they produced it in mass, and they put it everywhere. I remember finding these boxes at Sam's Club. I remember finding these boxes they were everywhere. And so you could find them and they were readily available and you just bought them. I mean, I remember buying boxes for, $10 to $15. And the obviously we can't go too long about talking to this set without talking about the icon of this set, which was the David Robinson rookie. Like at that time in 1989, David Robinson, he was supposed to be the next great player. And the Spurs had him in 87 as a draft pick, but he had to stay in the Navy and had commitments in the Naval Academy. So the hype grew around David Robinson, and we couldn't see him play though until 89. But it was like, okay, this guy's coming. And then all of a sudden they produced a card of him holding up his jersey, the big smile. And everybody who watched David Robinson in college, they were like, holy crap, this guy's going to be a superstar. And he did end up having a great career. But, Chris, I don't know if I'm going overboard here, but in 1989, like this card was, I don't want to say the equivalent, but pretty close to that Griffey Upper Deck card. Like it was that iconic. I think people wanted this card as much as they wanted that Griffey Upper Deck. Am I out of line there, or do you agree?
Probably not so much, but definitely that was the card to have. And that was something, if you were a collector, and like I said, I just don't remember. I grew up in a town with like 6,000 people in it. We had 2 card shops at that time. And that tells you how big a deal the cards were.
Right.
The city I live in now has 15,000 people in it, and I still have to drive 40 miles to get to a card shop. But when I grew up, it was a town of 6,000 people. We had 2 card shops. I just don't remember seeing Fleer basketball packs, but these things were out there, and I was buying them, and that was the card that everybody wanted, was that Robinson card. And up until this point, you had to wait till the next year to get someone's rookie card, because they would print this stuff before the season. It would come out, the guy would play, and then next year the rookie card would be out. And that was just the way it was done. So this was the first time that the rookie card was in the packs the year that the guy was actually the rookie. And then he became the rookie of the year. So that made it even better. Right. So it was a big deal to get this card. And to be honest with you, I just don't remember having a lot of these either. I mean, I bought a ton of these sets here in the last 2 years, and now I've got more than I really should have. Right. But I just don't remember having a ton of these back in those days. I remember chasing it though.
Yeah, the cool thing about this set or this pack, I mean, so to give people an idea, there were 300 cards in the original set, and then they went and did a second series where they put an extra 53 cards in it. But you remember, this was, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just jogging off my own memory here, but they had like the different packaging that you could see through, and so they were like, it was almost like a baggie, and the packaging. But I can't remember any other cards before that where you could peek through the front and back and see which ones were on the front and back. And so these packs or these boxes, when they were sold as individuals, they had all been searched, right? Mm-hmm. They were like, you could see. And I remember I can't remember where I got it or how I had it, and I just discovered it back when I got back into the hobby. I had one with Robinson with the jersey right on top, and I kept that thing in like this special case because I thought this was going to be the coolest thing. You had this, but I remember finding it. There you go. This is a great. You can see it there. It was transparent, so you could see it. So people were searching for those cards to find the Robinson on top or on the bottom, and I just remember going through, I was probably at a supermarket or wherever I was, and there it was. I had the David Robinson card on top. I ended up opening it to see what kind of condition it was, and it actually had a dinged corner. So it wasn't, it didn't turn out to be a great card, but I just remember that being part of this set. You wanted to see who was on top, and you wanted to see who was on bottom, and that was part of what made this set awesome.
Yeah, the card was dinged because those kids were going through all the packs in the grocery store.
Absolutely, they were. Absolutely. And that was our other part of the problem, is those things, those wrappers were so thin that it didn't protect the cards quite like those wax paper on like a normal, the normal packs. And so and I think now we're still starting to see a little bit more of that. It's evolved now to kind of a foil type wrapper where it protects the cards a little bit more. But those wrappers really did not do well. And we saw it with Pro Set Football too,
Yep.
and that we had those little baggies, and they just didn't really hold up. So and it shows in the pop report, which I'm gonna get into. But you have something to say here.
We we call those garbage bag packs, and I think 88 Score was actually the first product that ever had those, and that was even more transparent. You could really see those pretty easily, and not that 88 Score is really valuable, but I think if you go to open those packs, you'll see that many of the cards these days, if you were just to have fun and try to rip one of those boxes, will be pretty messed up as far as the corners. And I actually watched a few people today on YouTube opening boxes of 89 hoops, and there's definitely a lot of packs, even packs that guys are getting that are wrapped. They're pulling them out, and the packs, they've got some bad corners on those. I guess I want to back up just a little bit. We were talking about, this being kind of at the time, Fleer was really the only one that was making licensed basketball cards. But this really actually, the other reason I think that makes this set really interesting is I think it kind of kicked off the junk wax era of basketball.
Yes.
You had hoops that came out in 89, Skybox in 1990, Upper Deck 91, and then Topps got back into it in 92. But there was a time there where there was just so much product out there, and this was really the first time that somebody else jumped in. Just like in 89, we had Score come in with football and Pro Set. So I think that's a really cool point that we should make on this set, is that it was definitely kind of the kickstart to I guess what you'd call the junk wax era in basketball cards. But here's another Robinson. This one came out, and you talked about it a little bit. This one came out in Series 2. And what they did, that Series 2 was a 53 card set. So it was 300 cards in Series 1, 53 cards in Series 2. But when you bought the Series 2 packs, you could also get Series 1 cards. But instead of making new sheets, they just took 53 cards off of the Series 1 sheet and put the Series 2 cards in it. So you could get both. But they did take the Robinson jersey card off of that sheet. So if you buy a Series 2 pack, you can only get the on-court card with it in the Series 2 packs. We'll talk a little bit about the rookies. Series 1, you had the Robinson jersey rookie. Dan Marley's in there, Kevin Johnson. And the other Hall of Famer rookie was Mitch Richmond. But Series 2 did have something, and this is kind of what still makes that product kind of valuable, is it had the Steve Kerr rookie, which in our day when Steve Kerr was playing, I always kind of thought he was one of Jordan's amigos. He was just a bit player on the Bulls team, but with his coaching career has now made that card the second most valuable card in the set, in the whole set of 89 Upper Deck. So kind of cool, and you can only get that in Series 2.
Yeah, and it's an interesting card too. It's just him in a headshot. It's like him.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Steve Kerr. It's like, does this guy even play? But like you said, I mean, his value has increased so much as a coach, which was interesting. And there's also a Phil Jackson card in there too, which was an interesting. You have two guys that their value came from coaching. But in looking at the pop reports, this is a card, or this is a set. When you look at it, you go, wow, there's been a lot of cards graded from this set. By the numbers, you have 52,000 cards have been graded from this set. 27% have received 10s, 45% 9s, 18% 8s. That's kind of the breakdown of the top 3 grades. So 27%, PSA 10 gem mint rate isn't bad. So it shows you that the cards have held up pretty well. But when you look at that number, you go 52,000 cards have been graded. It tells me there's probably, not a lot of cards that, maybe have low pops. But when you look at the numbers really closely, there are a lot of cards that haven't been graded very much. In fact, when looking at the numbers, Jordan's base card, Jordan's All-Star card, which is also in that set, the Robinson jersey card, and then the Robinson free throw card, those make up, let me see, let me find my numbers here. It is something ridiculous. So of the 52,000 cards graded out of this set, 41,000 of those cards are of those four. So like there's a bunch of other cards that are in there. Like when you get past the Jordans and the Robinsons, the next most popular graded card, and I'm interested in this one interests me, was the Scottie Pippen card. And that one's only been graded like 1,100 times. And so there's only 444 PSA 10s. Whereas you look at the Jordan base card, it's been graded over 16,000 times. The All-Star card is over 11,000 times. The Robinson card, we were talking about it being as iconic as the Griffey card. It's only been graded 7,500 times. And so it has about a 10% PSA 10 rating. So there's only 751 PSA 10 David Robinson jersey cards. I found that number to be fairly low considering everybody was chasing that card. Now, 44% are PSA 9s. And I think a lot of these cards too, not only did the dings, but they were off center. I think that was other part of it too. There's actually 1,800 of the Robinson free throw cards in 10s. So, when you look at those numbers and you go, there's a lot of cards graded, but the Robinson jersey card in a 10, I would say is a frisky low pop considering how many cards were out there and how many people were chasing this. And then, like you mentioned, there's the Scottie Pippen was 5, Larry Bird was 6, the Steve Kerr rookie card was the 7th most graded card. And then we mentioned the Phil Jackson card is right after that. And then it goes to Magic Johnson. And then the other rookie Hall of Famer was the Mitch Richmond. And then, you had Barkley, you had Olajuwon. So those are the cards. Those are the notable cards. Those are the cards that people felt like, okay, I'm going to get these cards graded. But again, Magic Johnson has been graded 673 times total. So they have 189 PSA 10s. That's it. So there's some frisky low pops in this set that surprised me. When you look at the total numbers, it really is those 4 cards that we mentioned that were getting most of the grading.
I would say if you go and look at those numbers, you could really break them down. The Pippen cards probably occurred in the last 2 years. Probably a ton of them got graded after the documentary came out, and that boosted the popularity of that card. But the other thing that I'll say about this set, and we can pull these cards up again, it's very, very easy to see if the cards are off center, the way the borders are built. I mean, it's very easy to see if the cards are off center. So I think that also helps probably keep the pop down because people are like, this is off center. It's easy to see. I'm not going to send it in. And you also, I think it probably helps that 10 rate, that gem rate, because, you're not going to send in a card and go, oh, this thing looks pretty good. I mean, you can very clearly see if these cards are off center. So I think that was probably something that's done 2 things, and that's kept the pop report down somewhat and also just led to probably a higher gem rate than maybe it should be.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And then when you look at the value of these cards, you're not getting much value with these cards. PSA 10 for the Robinson card, it's only selling for like $500-$600. So, I mean, you have under 1,000 of them out there. And, that surprised me a little bit. But, again, Robinson turned out to be a really good player, great career. But, he wasn't transcendent. He wasn't a guy that, I would label as an icon, but just a really solid MVP, Hall of Famer, champion type of guy. And then the Jordan base 10 is going for around 150, 200. The All-Star about 100 to 125. The free throw from Robinson, here's the drop. That Robinson free throw card is about 75 to 125. And then the Magic's for around 50 to 100, Bird 50 to 100. And then the Steve Kerr is around 50 to 100 too. That one was way higher. That one's come down tremendously. But, those are some of the prices that, you're looking at. You're not going to spend money to get a 9 graded. And like you said, if it's off center, it's not coming back at 10. You're not sending that in. So, that's kind of how it broke down. But I love the cards that tell you right there when you look at them, hello, I'm off center, or hello, I'm perfect, right? Like take the dumb out of it for me, please. And these cards definitely did that, no question about it.
Yeah, so let's talk. I see you got you send me these pictures every week. One of these slides here is this NBA Hoops Superstars set. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this one intrigued me a little bit because I saw some of the cards pop up when I was doing my research, and they were yellow. They had the yellow background or the yellow. There's the Jordan. If you look, that doesn't mean that the color has faded. It just means that it's actually yellow. So NBA Hoops partnered with Sears on a short print superstar set, and this was only a 100-card set, and that was the packaging that you saw. The only difference was the borders were yellow instead of white, and the card numbers were different because there was only 100 cards. So if you're looking for this set, you like the look of it, and you like to find cards that are a little bit more unique, that have that frisky low pop, this set right now, I'd say the Sears set, which is pretty reasonable. You can go find those on there, and you can find cards, but fewer than 2,000 cards from the Sears set have been graded. So if you can track those down, now those are the cards that let's say you're a collector of Magic Johnson or Larry Bird or one of the Hall of Famers. You're like, I want to pick up, like, those are the cards that I'm going to look for more than the hoops. And again, it's just a matter of finding research. Once you get down a rabbit hole and you start looking, why is that one yellow? This one's white. What is this about? You start finding those. So I found that interesting, and I love that. I love that idea of these subsets and partnering with weird, Sears isn't even around anymore, but like find little niches like that you can put these short prints in there. I know that the trend now is to put your short prints right into your retail or your hobby packs, which is great. But I find these are the type of finds that Chris, that I love to go dig into and find those. And so that became kind of my project as I was doing my research, is looking at how much these cards were going for. And it's not that much more than the actual set. But again, just adds to the uniqueness of the era and the time, and how these cards were being made.
Yeah, you can pick those sets up for, I looked today, anywhere from $20 to $40 on eBay.
Yeah.
And you're going to get one of each, you're going to get that Jordan card. You go and buy a wax box right now, anywhere from $60 to probably $120, depending on, someone did a bad job with their auction or whatever.
Right.
But they're out there. They're very available. I think people these days don't realize, I remember in 1989 and throughout the 80s, every November, my grandma and my parents handed me the Sears catalog and saying, "Here, pick out your Christmas presents."
Right.
We didn't have the internet, so that's what you did. And that was the only way to get that set. It was in the Sears catalog. That was how you could get it. So I don't think they were made anywhere near the production of a lot of cards from that era. So I think it's a really good buy if somebody's out there looking to pick up something that's different, maybe not completely mass produced, that's affordable. That's it. And you can get some really cool, what I would consider kind of iconic cards. I still think that Jordan card is one of the coolest cards that was ever made of that guy. So I like it. I actually looked into that too a little bit. I know you're the PSA guy, but the Jordan card in the Sears set, 824 of them were graded, 107 graded 10. So that's about a 12% gem rate. The standard issue card, 16,564 graded, about 3,500 gems. That's 21% gem rate. So it is more difficult to get a gem in the yellow. And I think some of that may be because I think there's some differentiation in that yellowing.
Yes.
Maybe that's part of it. I'm not sure, but gem rate definitely higher on the standard card compared to the yellow card. So if you're looking for, again, only 107 tens of a Jordan card, and pretty affordable, that might be one to go grab if you're an investor.
Yeah, I agree, and that caught my eye. I love that about doing research on these sets. Sometimes you miss things when you're just casually searching, but you're absolutely right. And the hoops, a lot of sets back then, you had to hand collate, and that's the other thing that I think people sometimes forget. There weren't factory sealed sets for any of these. And so it was wax boxes, and that's it. And that's all you got. You had to build your set by yourself and by purchasing wax. And, that really, if you can find factory sealed sets nowadays from that era, those are to me, those are must buys, because I think you can start breaking those sets and probably get cards in better shape.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I fell down a rabbit hole today too when I was looking into this, and I thought it was super interesting, and I kind of added some things to it but I watched some different YouTube videos today on this set, and there was a couple of them comparing this set to the '89 Fleer set, and I'm like, all right, let's see where we're going to go here. So the '89 Fleer basketball cards go anywhere for a wax box, $500 to $600. Wrapped ones are going to cost you probably $600-700. But here's the thing: there's 300 cards in the hoop set. So in a box, you're basically going to get a little bit less than 2 of each card in a wax box. There's 560 cards in the wax box, 300 cards in the set. So, but you should get basically 2 of everything if it's collated correctly, which again, that may or may not happen. But with the Fleer set, there's only 132 cards in the set. You're still getting the same amount of cards in the box. So you really could almost get, you should get close to 4 of each card in that Fleer box. And you just have fewer commons because there's only 132 cards, and you're going to have all the stars are still going to be in there. Take a look at the PSA 10s. The Jordan Fleer for PSA 10, about $900 compared to the Hoops card, $150. The Magic 200 versus the Hoops at about 50 to 60. But less commons, more stars in the Fleer, 4x. So you should get about 4 times each star in the Fleer packs compared to 2 times in the Hoops packs, and the cards are worth 5 to 6 times more. So we've just been talking about how great Hoops is, and now I'm telling you, if you want to buy it for investment, it's probably worth buying the Fleer. But the other thing is, and I think we've all kind of dealt with this over the last 2 years, that if you're buying these cards and you're planning on just keeping them raw, they're all horrible buys, because you're just not going to find value in them at raw. I mean, you can buy these cards raw, singles, even the Jordan card in the '89 Fleer, you can buy it for like $20 raw. Right. So to go and buy a box to get 4 of them just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if you're trying to buy cards to grade, or you're looking for investment, definitely I think the Fleer is a better buy than the Hoops right now.
That's interesting. Yeah, and when you look at the print production on the cards, and you do have to look at the number of cards in each set. I mean, that's one of the first things you do, and you start realizing, okay, I might only get 1 of that David Robinson card or 1 of that Jordan card. And so, no, that's really smart investing if you can do the math and say, I'm going to get X number of cards likely, this is going to be the case. But then again, you might pull those cards, they might be off center, they might be dinged, you just never know. But your potential to get those cards and multiple of those cards obviously goes up with the fewer number of cards in each set. And
you and I both bought a couple 1990 Fleer cases, which is a year afterwards, and the collation was pretty good. I mean, you generally got about 3 Jordan cards per box, so it was pretty much spot on what you should get. So
yes, no, that's an interesting. And now you got me thinking maybe I should be buying some 1989 Fleer and investing in that now. But that's another conversation for another day.
Right.
But no, this set, I think it's, I think the fact that it was readily available for most people in many different places, I think it makes it an icon and relatable for a lot of people. I think that one's, I think anybody who was into cards then, they were happy to see something new and different, right?
Yep.
And that was it. And '89 was really good year for that. We mentioned it before, the Upper Deck baseball came on the scene. I mean, it was a good time. It was a good time to collect, and a fun time to get these cards. And again, these were great looking cards. These were great looking cards. And, I think that's part of it too. What's good to the eye is good to the collectors.
The other thing that I guess we should make a quick note on, that Sears set, we talked about the yellow cards. I was trying to find those today on the PSA, and those actually they are a facsimile of the 89 hoop set, but they are a 1990 they're 1990 edition. So if you go look on the
oh really? Okay.
Report, they will show up as 1990 hoops, but they obviously look just like 89. But they were copyrighted 1990 instead of 89. So
there you go. We'll put an asterisk by that one. But yes, it's the same design as 89.
Exact same photos, like you say. The only difference is the color and the numbers. So
got it. All right. There you go. Well, I don't have anything else to say about this set. How about you?
That's it.
Put this thing to bed.
I think we can put that to bed. I actually have a really cool story for you, though, and for our audience. I think this is something that, and I haven't talked to you about this. Usually I bring this stuff to you right away, but I've kept it for the show, and I hope that our audience gets
do you want me to give you my little tidbits so you can end with something cool? Because mine's not that cool.
All right, let's hear it.
So here, let me just get this out of the way here. So I found out something interesting today. Did you know that Ken Griffey Jr. is currently the 6th highest paid player on the Cincinnati Reds roster, their current roster? Did you see that? I
saw that in the Washington Post today.
Yes. So he's making like $3.59 million this year, thanks to the 16-year deal he signed with the Reds back in 2009. So everybody knows about the Bobby Bonilla. He gets the 1.1 million every, July 1st. It's Bobby Bonilla. But I didn't know anything about the Griffey. But they were bringing up, so it tells me, I'm like, okay, Cincinnati Reds must be a cheap franchise right now. Like they're not paying anyone if Griffey is still their 6th highest paid. And then again, to make it more relatable for our CardFellas show, I started looking up the Griffey cards that we've talked about. And do you know, and you probably know this, Chris, that he has 4 of the top 10 most graded cards in history? Griffey's
I did
cards.
not know that.
Yes, number 7 is the Unicorn, 1989 Donruss card. The 1989 Fleer card is number 4. And this is all time, every card. The most graded cards by PSA. Number 2 is the Topps Traded card. And of course, the number 1 is the Upper Deck card. So there you go. Bringing it back to the CardFellas show and bringing cards in reality together. Ken Griffey Jr., the 6th highest paid player on the Cincinnati Reds roster currently. Good luck, Reds. Goodness.
You had that, but in that article, I didn't realize, like, everybody knows the Bobby Bonilla thing, but there's like 5 or 6 guys that have very similar deals. Matt Scherzer is making like, I think, $43 million or something from his current team, but he's still getting $15 million a year from the Nats.
Yes. Yes. Like there's baseball so odd that way, but I just loved how it was framed up. It's like current roster. You're the 6th highest paid player. Congratulations.
Maybe Max Scherzer bought that Brady football.
Again. Whatever. All right. End us with something great because I'm excited for this one. Bring it to us.
I hope that it's great, but I have been selling on eBay. I used to sell on eBay as a job for a couple of companies I used to work for. So I'm really a nerd when it comes to selling stuff on eBay. And I listen to a lot of podcasts about it. And I was listening to one last week, and the guy was talking about, eBay sales being slow. You always hear that. People are like, oh, my sales are slow. Things aren't moving. And he's like, I'm going to give you a tip to make your eBay sales go up. He's like, go through all of your pricing. And if you have something at like $31.99, make it $29.99. $36.99, make it $34.99. If it's at $11.99, make it $9.99. And he's like, people search things, and I don't do this, but apparently people search things and they use that dollar price thing, and they're looking for maybe a PSA 10 card for under $30, and they'll put under 30 in there. So he's like, you don't want to be selling stuff for $30.99, $31.99, because he's like, you will miss so many searches. you got to change that pricing so that you're going to hit that under 30 price. Or if it's at $25.99, make it $24.99, because then you'll hit the under $25 price. So I actually went through my store and did that, and it has been incredible how many sales that I've picked up from doing that. So if you're selling stuff on eBay and if you got cards out there and you've got them at $41.99 or $45.99 or whatever, get it so it's either at those $5 increments. So if you're at $51.99, get it at $49.99. And this guy says it works really good, and so far in my experience, it's worked really good. So
no kidding. Do they have in the search function? I've seen that before where it's like under 20, under 5. So how many increments do they have?
Well, there's actually a thing you can personalize it. You can make it whatever you want. If you want to be under $31, you could do it that way too.
Got it.
So you can it's actually like a little bar that you can toggle and change it however you want. But I think there's probably some quick buttons though that are for 20 or 30 or whatever.
Yes, that's what I was talking about.
But you definitely can toggle it to do whatever you want. And this guy was saying you definitely want to be under those increments if you can get them. And it'll increase your sales. It'll get things going, and it definitely has worked so far for me. So
no kidding.
If your eBay sales have slowed, go through and do that and see what happens.
That's a great idea. We could talk about eBay and strategies all day long. Since you brought up eBay, I'm going to bring up a couple things. You probably have seen it, the authenticity option now that eBay is offering. They will authenticate your cards. I think the value has to be over like $450 or $500. But I've already read some horror stories. Again, it's just one more person handling your cards before you get it. And I mean, I appreciate the service, but I don't see myself ever using that. Again, I'm not a big ticket buyer typically on raw cards on eBay. So it's not for me, but I just don't see this being a high value proposition. I know it's free, but there's something about it that makes me just go, I just don't know who would take advantage of this.
Yeah. I'd be really interested to know how many people are actually selling raw cards at that value. I mean, I have had a couple of cards that I could sell raw for that price and just had no interest in doing it, and ended up just getting the cards graded, because to me it was protecting myself, knowing that, if I sell this card and somebody decides that they want to return it, at least I know I'm getting the card that I sent them. So to me, to sell a high value card on eBay, and I just don't, I'm sure it does happen, but to me it would not be a good idea, and I just don't see that being a big thing. But I think the thing that you really want to talk about is the vault, though. And I think that is probably the more interesting thing that eBay is doing right now.
Yeah, it is. It's all interesting, and it's I don't see the value in it. I just don't know how much it's going to be used, but they're pushing it. I get emails about it, and they want us to use it, but I think it's just more window dressing, just to let us know that they want to show the card collectors that they are doing something to protect them and their investments. But I just don't know who's using that and if it's worth the time and effort at this point.
Yeah, that vault though, I think when people were thinking about doing the slab stock thing and thinking of doing like the ComC kind of thing, I think eBay definitely, I mean, they're already the number one place to sell cards. I think they're just seeing that as a spot where they can dominate and they can move in and really be the player in cards. And good for them, because I think they've already had their lunch eaten as far as just consumer goods by Amazon. And I think they just want to stay ahead and basically make it so insurmountable for anyone else to move into the market. That's what this play is they're going to be like, we're just going to do everything, and no one else is even going to try to get into this because we're going to dominate it. So,
and you go ahead.
I think it's a great play by them, and I think that whether people use it or not, I think some people will, and I think it might be something that just becomes more regular for people to do. And at that point, they have the infrastructure already in place.
Yeah, I just don't know who's doing that, and if people are People want their cards. I think people want to hold them, touch them, feel them. I don't know. I'm always interested to hear from people who are doing it and why they do it. And I think the other thing about that I wanted to bring up about eBay, and you got me talking about or thinking about this with the pricing, and you and I have talked about this before. If you're selling on eBay, don't be a slave, or if you're buying on eBay, don't be a slave to the comps and the previously solds. You and I have talked about this, Chris, too, where you can go look at the comps and see what cards have sold for. And you can look at this and say, I don't think this card, I'm not letting go of this card for $60. This is a $120 cards. And I had a very specific card that I was selling that did exactly this. It was a Jason Kidd Upper Deck rookie card, and it was a PSA 10. And all of the previous sales were like $60 to $70. But they were probably a couple months prior to when I was posting it, and there were none others posted for sale. And so I looked at this, and this was a low pop. And so I put it up there for like $135. And I would get messages frequently. Hey, did you see the comps? Here are the comps. It's $65. The last sale was $65. I ignored it. And then all of a sudden, one day I got a sale alert. It sold for the full price. And so if you feel like you have a card that has a unique value because of its low pop, then price it that way. And so I think a lot of people sometimes will be a slave to that comp and expect to get the same card for that same price. And if there's nobody else selling that card at that grade, then you can set the value. And as you've told me, Chris, all you need is one person who's willing to buy it.
Yep,
and one person.
But it's definitely something you kind of got to caution people to. You got to have a card that there's not a bunch of those out there, because then you're just going to lose in that battle. But if you've got a card where it's low pop and there's no other ones up there, and somebody says, "Hey, I want to buy a birthday present for my favorite Jason Kidd friend, fan," then they're going to buy it, and it doesn't matter what the price is going to be, because they want it, they need it, it's there, and you're going to sell it. But if you try to do that with a 1990 Fleer Michael Jordan where there's 10,000 rated, it's not going to happen. So
it's not. No, and you're right. And so you look, it really kind of changed my thinking, because I was looking at the comps and looking at the solds, and I really didn't go out a lot of times and look at what's available. And so you search what's available, you look at and you kind of do that math and you do that combination. And there might be a couple that are posted or for sale, and they might be ridiculously overpriced. And now you can come underneath. And so, like you said, all you need is one person to come in and say, I want that card. And if it's a reasonably priced card, they're going to likely pull the trigger because they want that card. So, just some eBay strategies that hopefully help people. And there's a lot of super sellers out there that, have figured this out, but we're not the super sellers. We're just kind of going through this. And I really like your idea of finding the cards, under a certain value. I think that's, another really good strategy is, people try and, get a little bit more gas money in this day and age.
Yeah. Well, we talked 1989 today. We talked Ken Griffey Jr. And, baseball is back. They got that whole thing straightened out. Next week, we're going to talk baseball. We're going to talk 1989. We're going to talk the 89 Fleer set, which is one of our favorites.
Yeah, so sticking back to 89. We must like 89 must have been a good year. We're talking about it 2 weeks in a row. But, can we swear on this show? Because there was a swear word card in that set that we will spend some time on. That's for sure.
There definitely is a swear. We might have to put a parental advisory at the beginning of the show.
Yes. I think that's why I really wanted to talk about that card, because it allowed me back in 1989 to swear in front of my parents.
Yep. And I would be lying if I haven't told you that my 14-year-old son has said, yeah, look at this card, and
exactly.
told me what was on that card. So,
hey, he's just stating the facts. Thank
Exactly.
you, Billy Ripken.
Exactly. All right.
Well, this has been fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Chris. Good chat.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. We'll be talking 1989 Fleer with Ken Griffey Jr., Billy Ripken's F-Face, and Randy Johnson's Marlboro. We'll see you next week.